Dead Men and the Mistresses of the Universe. A more fitting, if perhaps a hint too on the nose, title for a flop so all-encompassing and absolute in terms of story, characters, pacing, theme, delivery, voice acting, etc., etc., to shock even the most hardened of cynical critics. And a lot of the responsibility for the sheer mountain of awful has to be laid at the feet of the show's new main character, Teela, who is, by all accounts, a thoroughly unlikable character. And the scene where she berates Adam for literally sacrificing his own life to save hers, to save his family, his nation, and the very universe is rightfully being roundly mocked by a near unified internet. It is a scene so bad, it almost blows you away. You're left there sitting thinking, wait, hold on, what just happened now? Man dies, woman most affected. It is a literal meme, a statement so obviously absurd on the very face of it, brain can barely even begin to compute it. And yet, what if I told you I could not only save that scene and make it make sense, but also make it massively strengthen Teela's character and come within no bull's chance in hell at least of making her actually worthwhile without changing a single damn word either, mind you. I bet more than a few of you uttered a silent prove it, bitch, upon hearing that. But here's the thing. The underlying foundation of this scene is actually rather solid and had been built up previously in the story. It's just that the delivery and the direction of the scene itself is absolutely terrible and completely ruins all of it. And to make it perfectly clear as well, I fully believe the writers intended for it to be delivered just like it actually was. Because to make this scene actually good, you need the character to be a human. Which goes against every tenet of the anti-fan wokest writer's guide to strong female characters. Because to be a strong female character in their eyes, Teela must be stronger than all the dirty, filthy men. And that means not showing a hint of weakness, or indeed, basic humanity. But enough preamble, envision this scene instead. Adam, exasperated and deeply goddamn confused, no doubt, shouts at Teela, "I died." And instead of turning around and simply continuing to lay into him, all angry and berating, Teela turns, mouth open as if she's about to blurt out something harsh and ill-conceived. But instead, she pauses for a second, takes a step closer to Adam, says, "Yeah, still trying to sound strident and angry, but voice cracking with pent-up emotion as one of her eyes tears up. She steps in closer, half leaning into Adam, elbows and forearms resting against his chest, fist balled, head downcast, as a few tears drip from her eyes and her voice shakes as she utters, "And the rest of us had to live with it." Because what the scene really needs is a recognition of the absurdity and the unreasonability of the scene. Because Teela is obviously being unreasonable, but there is a rationale for why she would be unreasonable. This is a woman who had Adam, whom she was clearly attracted to, Adam/He-Man, die right in front of her, and then have her entire world turned upside down by the revelation that the two people she loved/admired were the same person, and also the fact that a lot of the people who were the closest to her, including Man-at-Arms, had all been lying to her for a very long time. This would obviously cause a great deal of mental turmoil. She might start lashing out and then isolating herself, as she did in the throne room, first going, "Oh, you're all liars and Adam is the same." Then she goes off, shaves her bloody hair, and finds herself a race-swapped girlfriend. If that ain't a surefire sign of a full-on mental breakdown, I don't know what is. But this aspect of it is entirely ruined by the fact that this isn't a part of Teela's character. This isn't an evolution where she builds up her walls, throws away her closest friends to isolate herself. She internalizes the pain and then lashes out when she sees Adam. The wall breaks, the dam shatters, and all of the emotion comes pouring through. No, instead, she's just a cold bitch. As none of that happens, none of the emotions ever materialize. She didn't build her walls, they were always there to begin with. She didn't lash out in pain or trauma. She's just not a very good person. Which again leads us back to this being the key problem when wokeists try to write strong female characters. To write heroes in general, they don't have any flaws. And no great hero is ever perfect or devoid of flaws, because part of the reason why they are heroes is overcoming these obstacles, overcoming their own weaknesses, their own shortcomings, their own flaws to grow, to evolve, and become the hero. In the case of the Teela example here, having her actually display some weakness, some humanity to Adam, would explain away so many of her previous actions, and the audience would instantly excuse it. Hell, we forgive mass murdering psychopath villains all the time when they turn into good guys. So Harley Quinn is a hero now. She's a psychopath murderer. Okay? She has killed dozens, hundreds, perhaps thousands of people, often in unspeakable ways, whilst aiding a crazy man. And yet again, she's a hero now. We are willing to forgive and forget virtually, literally, anything when it comes to these fictional characters, because it is about the journey. And when a character is already at the end of their journey, is already the hero, is already all they can possibly be, and all they can be too, is in this case, a raging asshole. There's no journey for us to enjoy. There's no sympathy to be gained. All we see is a bad person, devoid of a redemption arc. And I want to make this absolutely clear too. I want to stress this point, which is why I'm making it into a semi-gatekeeping video, that the reason why this happens is not due necessarily even to a lack of talent. Kevin Smith has produced some pretty damn awesome stuff in the past. It is an ideological problem. When you accept a certain worldview that dictates that your strong female characters cannot have flaws, as we see again and again and again throughout modern media, you end up with heroes who just aren't heroes. You end up with modern-day entertainment creators in the mainstream identifying more with the villains than they do the heroes. See the recent Cruella de Vil movie, for example. I mean, that is... Yes. It makes no sense. It is in absolute opposition to all observable reality, to the rules of writing, to the rules of story building, to the basic constructs of a setting, of a coherent narrative. And yet, we see it again and again as a trend due to that ideological need. one could even argue that Netflix picked the right man for the job. As He-Man, it's a relatively minor franchise with a relatively minor, though very invested fan base. And the thing is too, I genuinely do believe that if this was done well, He-Man absolutely could have had a major resurgence. With Netflix's genuine skill in terms of animation, in terms of visuals and trailers, man, the He-Man trailer was fantastic. If the actual show was like the trailer, it would probably have been an actual smash hit. But instead, we got what we got, and there are some who suggest that this may have been a marketing ploy to stir up the angry fans, to stir up the internet, to create buzz around the show, to spread the word wide and far. And I see the argument, at the very least in part. Personally, I'll probably make this my last video commenting on the series, presuming it doesn't get a second season, if that's as awful as the first. But I will, however, say as well that the old saying that all PR is good PR, I don't think is true anymore in this current day and age. It's not difficult to pirate a Netflix show. If you want to see He-Man, to just have a look at the train wreck, there are plentiful ways to do so. Hell, just entering it into Google search He-Man, watch online, for example, it's probably likely to give you more than a few results, frankly. So I don't really buy the argument of the hate watching quite as much, and negative press, again, can be a huge thing. We have seen that affect the mainstream medium and the mainstream gaming press massively as well. The trust in the mainstream media is still in the absolute bucket, and in all due likelihood, their death would have been very, very near at this point if it weren't for systems like YouTube deciding to offer them every privilege and every consideration, even as the people who they are doing favors for are sharpening their knives behind their backs. But, oh well, details. And perhaps that could be an interesting topic for another gatekeeping video. The value, quote-unquote, of a negative backlash. Because there is absolutely a point in saying that the best response to a bad product is absolute apathy. But you've got to reckon with the fact that we live in reality as well. And absolute apathy is a hell of a lot harder to drum up than negativity. Until next time, I've been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching, and I hope to see you all again soon. Till then, have a good day.